Hi everyone, this is Nick from Coin and Paper, and today we're going to take a look at some budget and debt payoff tips. So to start with the budget tips, in our earlier video, what we did is created a plan, a financial plan, and really that's a budget. So with the budget, we can take a look at what our monthly income is and what all of our targets are as far as where we like to direct our funds to. So it's also a process of controlling your money. This is where you want your money to go to. So one thing that I didn't add in the earlier video that I'd like to add now is pretty important, and that's adding a percentage column. And so if you add a percentage column, you'll be able to see what percentage of your money is being spent in each particular category. And so this is really helpful to determine whether you're spending too much or too little in a particular category. And the way you can measure that is there's actually targets out there to make suggestions. So there's a lot of people who do this research and look at what's the recommended amount for each of the categories. So what we're going to do is look for one together, and we're going to bring it in this page and see how we're doing. So to get the percentage of what you're actually spending or what your budget has so far is you take the category total and then you divide it by your annual or your monthly income. So it should be the same as far as the ratio between the two. So you're looking monthly or annual. If you divide the two, so if I move this over, it's going to divide the annual amount. It's the same amount, same percentage. So here we're spending 45% in housing, which includes utilities. And so if we look at something else, we'll look at our, let's see, what we're paying in debts. So we're paying off this amount in debts. So we're going to divide that by the income, 70%. If we look at auto, we'll divide that again by your income, and we'll do this with the food, and maybe we'll pick one more. We'll do savings. So we'll do savings and divide that by income. So 4%. All right, so that is, and all of these should equal 100%. So if I do this, we didn't do the formula for all of them, so it's not going to equal 100%, but we're a little off because we didn't do these right here. So that's what we're actually spending. That's the percentage we're spending, or at least we've budgeted. But let's go online, and we're going to Google recommended percentages. So personal budget recommended percentages. So I looked this up earlier, so we're going to click on that. And see, there's so many different ones. So we can do images to get screenshots and look at all the breakdowns here. But I'm going to go to all, and I'm going to click on the first one. And then if you scroll down to look for the percentages, here it starts breaking it down. So this is national average budget category percentages of net income. And here's another one here with some ranges. So what I'll do is move this over to the right, and I'm going to take a screenshot of a part of it, and what I'm going to do is just copy it so we can see it on our page, or you can just write it down, but I'm going to copy it so we can see both in one screen. So as far as the recommended percentages, it says housing, the recommended overall percentage of spending should be between 25 and 35% of your income. So here we have 45%. So we're spending too much in our housing. And actually, maybe not. So look at it. They broke out utilities separately. So let's do that here. So maybe we are okay. So if we do insert a couple lines, and this is housing now, and insert another line, and so now we're going to move this up here and actually just change the formula a little bit. So now we're just adding this, and we're still over. I don't think it didn't improve very much at all, or not much anyway. So we're still over that. Okay, so not by much, but we're still paying 4% over the highest even recommended amount. So as far as now the utilities, for utilities we're 6%, we're about average. We're doing okay. Now as far as auto, that would fall into transportation. Here it says we should be spending between 10 and 15%. So we're actually under that. And that's could be okay, or we should hit. That definitely could be okay, because that means we have more money that we could be using in other places, and maybe that's what we're spending in housing. Because we're saving in auto, we're putting that extra money towards housing. Now, as far as food, we're spending 21% of our monthly income on food, and the recommended amount is between 5 and 15%. So we're spending a little bit too much on food. So that may be fine, but if we're spending too much money on food, that means we're not spending enough, or at least the average, on other areas. And investment savings, so it says between 5 and 10%. So look, here we're actually spending only 4% in savings when the average, or at least the recommended, is between 5 and 10%. So maybe what we would want to do in this case is, and see, these are the good tips as far as budgeting and understanding really how you're doing compared to the recommended amounts. Since savings is more important than food, maybe it's really not. You need food to survive, but as far as you don't need to, you can save money in food with doing groceries or eating out less or eating less expensive things, less snacks, which could also be good for your overall health. So you probably just don't need to be spending as much on food. So you still need food, just you don't need to be spending as much. So let's drop that a little bit. So let's drop it to 700. And did that move? It didn't move much at all. So I just want to make sure I'm doing my math right. And so let's make it even lower. So 600, there you go. So food is an even lower. There you go. So $500. So now we have $395 extra dollars that we could be using towards, let's put 300 here, 350, and so 80, so 95, so that's about, what is that, 175? Let's see. Yes. So now it's 16%. So there we go. So we're actually over saving now, which is not a bad thing. So if you want to put a little bit more money back in food, because you like food a lot, go right ahead. But so this is a way to start actually looking at how you're spending. So you had your budget numbers of what you think was okay based on what you would like and what you want to do. But looking at it and comparing it to percentages and what the recommended percentages are, this is good information too. It might help you tweak some things to be more aligned with these things. So it's another way of looking at your overall budget. So this is definitely a tip of having a complete picture, and you may, again, decide to adjust some areas so you can meet these targets. So that's some budgeting tips. Now let's take a look at some debt management tips. And we started it in our earlier video with looking at some tips because we looked at total debts and liabilities. These are all the things that you owe. Okay, so these are, we have mortgages, car loan, credit cards, and school loans. And so if we wanted to pay all off our debt, we'd need $172,000 to pay off our debt. And we looked at from the difference here of what we did a quick snapshot, and we found out our extra, the money that we weren't spending. But if we could use our budget now, that information is in our budget. But let's just stick with this one for right now. We said it would take us 91 months to pay off our $172,000, or 8 years. We're just paying off based on our assumptions from the earlier video. But what we're going to look at now is some strategies to pay off your debt. So there's actually a couple of strategies out there, or approaches. And so two popular ones is, one is a debt snowball, and another one's focusing on interest. So with the debt snowball, and we're going to delete this here, the debt snowball, actually we'll add that back. So one is a debt snowball and two is the interest, and we're going to prioritize it. So with the debt snowball, that prioritizes your strategy to pay off debt by the amount of your loans. And so I'm going to say that loan amount. With the interest approach, focus is not the loan amount, but the interest rate. Add that there. So as far as the debt snowball, what you want to do first is pay off the smaller amounts. And so essentially it's like a ball that's building up, and you start to create momentum, and the encouragement and the success of beating or doing the little ones first encourages you to keep on going, and it's more rewarding and it helps you stay focused and on plan to pay off the rest of your debt. So in that case, like I said, the loan amount is the focus here, and so you want to start with the lowest amount. So this one you pay off first. So you take all your extra money. So in this case, we'll just say the $483 is extra money we can use towards paying off debt. So what you would do is take this $483 and prioritize it on this credit card. Then when this one's paid off, then you'll prioritize it on paying off your loan. So of course you keep on paying the minimum payments, but the extra amount is what is getting applied to help you get ahead. Then the next one is your school loans, and then finally the mortgage. So that extra funds will go to the credit card first, then you'll pay that one off, then you can focus on your car loan, then your school loan, and then finally have one bill left and your mortgage, and you'll use the extra funds to pay off the mortgage. So that's and maybe this is easier if I did put debt snowball. Let's say debt snowball, and then the other one is the interest. So now as far as prioritizing paying off your debts and liabilities, looking at the interest strategy, you're looking at the highest rate amount. So typically that's credit card. So it's coincidence here that it's the first priority. Your credit cards usually have a very high interest rate, say about 20%. So then you want to focus on this because with higher interest, you're paying more interest in the long run. So doing it this way, actually using the interest focus saves you money in the long run. So it all depends on if you like the debt snowball, it gives you encouragement to keep on going, and you see little victories, whereas the interest one, the victory is going to be in the bottom line. It's going to be in your accounts. This is more money in your pocket versus the lender's pockets. So say the credit cards is the highest rate, so you're going to focus on that one first. Then the next one might be car loan. And look, it looks like it's actually going in the same order, and that's just by coincidence. All right. So the credit card might have the highest interest rate, then the car loan might have the highest interest rate. So what you would do is focus on killing or reducing your high interest rate loans first, so that you pay less in interest in the long run. So these are really good approaches here, and it can help you pay off your debt. Now one thing I'd add now, so with credit cards, for a lot of people, credit cards are a problem. And actually nowadays, school loans are a big problem as well. I say nowadays because when I was in college, school loans were beginning to be a problem, but for me personally, it was credit cards at that time because I had a lot less money coming in. So I wasn't really, had a job, but it was not a very high-paying job. So as far as debt management, so we talked about interest and how interest really hurts as far as paying off your debt because interest is working against you. So you don't only have the principal, but you have interest working against you for your credit card. Maybe you owe, let's say, $10,000. Okay, and then your principal is that amount. So we'll just say that principal. And then you have your interest. So while you have $10,000, and if you had that fixed amount every single month, then paying it off might not be too hard. But say if your interest rate was 20%, and all of a sudden, now you have this adding to your principal. So this means your outstanding amount is $12,000, but interest is active and it's getting applied every single month. So when you pay off less amount, what you owe, what's outstanding, is actually growing. It's growing against you, and so this could be a problem. So especially if you have a high interest rate. So there's different strategies out there to help you tackle this. For example, you may get from your credit card company balance transfer checks for low rates. And so these things might help. So you have to look at the fine print, but balance transfer checks essentially is a credit card saying, hey, I want to have your balances. If you have 5 credit cards out there, I want you to have all of the balances with us because we'll make money off of that. But as an incentive, what we'll do is we'll write you a check, we'll give you a check, and you use that check to pay off your other credit cards. And what we'll do is the money that you bring over to us will reduce your interest rate so that you're paying less. So likely the interest rate that you're going to be paying with us on that same debt will be less than if you keep it over there. And so generally that's a good thing, so that can help you with your debt payoff strategy. But one thing to just pay attention there is in the fine print, because some of those may have a one-time fee, and so you want to make sure it's worth it. But this could be a good strategy to reduce your debt faster as transferring high interest debt to lower interest debt. All right, so all of these things are different strategies. So all of them may work, so you may want to tweak it. But once you even just get your debt on a piece of paper and look at this information, this is a huge relief and a very great start to actually paying it off and getting in control. So a lot of times if you have debt, it feels like a burden, and what we want to do sometimes is not even look at it. But that's definitely the wrong approach. So even just by looking at it and putting it in a piece of paper, you can feel a lot better and you're already on the right track to paying it off. So if you have any questions on this or want to talk more about paying off debt, feel free to send me a message and I'd be happy to help. Thank you.